Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Roger's Reflections on Friday, March 26th in the year 2021. Today, I'm going to read a passage from the 16th chapter of the Gospel of John. And in my Bible, the section title has it as Sorrow Will Turn into Joy. I don't know if you've ever had this, but sometimes there are seasons of grief. And for a number of people who are close to me, a number of folks in our church, this has been a season of grief. One of our friends lost his mother and his father within 2-3 weeks of each other. Another friend, we're celebrating his mother. She passed this last week, celebrating her life on Sunday, and just found out her mother, so our friend's grandmother, passed last evening. So we've got two different families who are dealing with grief upon grief, and there are others who have lost loved ones, and it's just sometimes it just hits you. It hits you hard. And so I think this passage might help with that. It helps me a little bit. So here now from John chapter 16. A little while, and you will no longer see me. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples. And again a little while, and you will see me. Then some of the disciples said to him, "What does he mean by this? A little while, and you'll no longer, and again a little while, and you'll see me, and because I'm going to the Father." They said, "What does he mean by a little while? We do not know what he's talking about." Jesus knew that they were wanting to ask him, so he said to them, "So you're discussing among yourselves what I meant when I said a little while. Well, here's what I say. Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn, but the world will rejoice. You will have pain, but your pain will turn into joy. When a woman is in labor, she has pain because her hour has come, but when her child is born, she no longer remembers the anguish because of the joy of having brought a human being into the world. So you have pain now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy away from you." And no one will take your joy away from you. Grief is grief. Grief is difficult. I believe, I've read this talking about stages of grief, and I believe there are certain stages. I believe we go through a certain process, but there's not necessarily a time limit on this process. Sometimes people say, "Well, hey, you should get over it by now." Well, every one of us has to deal with it, has to go through that grieving process. And it may be quicker for some and longer for others. For the one that goes through it quick, that doesn't mean they don't grieve. It just means that they've been able to, their makeup and presence of God, whatever it is, has helped them move through it quickly. And for those that linger in grief, that doesn't mean that they're any less spiritual. It just means that they're still struggling, and there's a reason for the struggle, and God is in the struggle. So don't ridicule anyone for whether they grieve or they don't grieve, or whether there's outward grief or whether it's all inward grief. That's not for us to say. But what we do know is that your pain will turn into joy. So you have pain now, he says, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy away from you. Because we have this faith, and we have this assurance that Jesus died for us, and then we know that the people we love, who are followers, we don't have any concern about where they are. And we are certain that we will see them again, and we are certain there will be joy in that encounter. Joy, as you've heard me say before, I believe is relationship-based. And so this isn't happiness. We're not going to be happy when someone passes. We're not. We're going to grieve. Now, can we be joyous? Yes, because The joy comes from the fact that they are in a place where there's no more pain, no more sorrow, no more suffering, no more tear, no more death. There's joy in that because they are with Christ. They are with God. And so the joy comes from the relationship, the assurance, the promises that we get from that relationship, and from the assurance that we will be with them once again. There is joy in that, and no one, my friends, no one can take your joy away from you. Amen? Amen. Take care, my friends, and for my friends Scott and Jeff, this one's for y'all. Take care. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.